this episode of PS Nation Presents. I'm Ben C. Palmer, and on today's episode I'm going to be going over something a little different. It's not really going to be an unboxing or a review. It's really going to be it's a project that myself and one of the other community members have been working on. If you remember a little while back, Glenn did a 12-hour stream for Extra Life, and one of the prizes that were available if you made a donation was a 3D printed goggles from a 3D printer for a headset that one of the community members, Phonius Sam, had done. So after watching that stream and seeing Glenn's review of the headset and seeing the pictures of what Sam had produced, I kind of reached out to Sam to see what else he could perform and what the 3D printer he had was capable of. That led me back to another conversation I had with another community member of ours who happens to be on the PS Nation staff. You may know him as AB Dave, Destiny Dave. So Dave goes by a few different names. He's always active in the forums. He's a very active community member, helping people go through a lot of the raids and things that are part of Destiny. And Dave, knowing that I'm into a lot of the collectibles, any of the collectible editions, special editions that come out, he asked me if I happen to have an extra Destiny Ghost edition, or if I knew where one could be available for a relatively cheap price. Now the thing with those editions is they sold out very fast. They're relatively rare to come by now, and they're super expensive if you can find one. Fairly limited release when they were out, so if you were lucky enough to get one, definitely hold on to it. But Dave was really interested for one thing, and pretty much what everybody else was interested in is when they got the collector's edition was it came with a ghost, a little handheld ghost model that actually lit up. It had some sounds and some voice articulation to it, and it was one of the coolest pack-ins I've ever seen in a collector's edition. So after talking with Sam and knowing that Dave was interested in getting a ghost, we kind of put our two heads together and we were able to find a model online that was freely available. So we talked about it. Sam was able to come up with the model and print it out, and he then sent it to me so I can work on finishing the model so we can send it to Dave as a gift, and as a thank you from the community to say, hey, we really appreciate everything you do. We know we can't get you the collector's edition, but maybe this will help instead. So Dave, if you're watching, I hope you really enjoy the gift and hope it meets your expectations. But let's take a look and see exactly what will be involved with trying to finish up the model. So here's everything that I picked up from the hobby store. First I'll show you what Sam had produced. So this is the actual 3D model that he made from the printout. I think it was from Thingiverse. He would know more, and I'll link to his video that he did while he was actually creating this in the description below. So essentially what this is just a 4-part model. You have to put the inner pieces together first, and then secure those and glue them. And then you can do the outside of the ghost shell. There are some pegs here that you can insert into the peg holes with just some super glue, and then secure those two pieces together. And then once that's all said and done, you can customize it and paint it, and hopefully it'll turn into this picture here. Fingers crossed. When I did start out, and after I had received the model from Sam, I noticed that if you can look here on some of the angles, you can see the lines from the printout. Now this is typical of when you're printing anything on a 3D printer, and depending on the material you use and the model printer that you have, those lines may or be a little more noticeable than on other models that you print out. So in order for me to get a good paint coat on this to make it look nice and smooth, I'd have to sand all this down, and I don't really want to try to disrupt too many of these surfaces of the model itself. So what I did is I went to the hobby store and picked up, talked with the owner for quite a while and picked up something, this white putty. It's really, they use it as a filler on plastic models and wood models, and essentially it helps level out a surface so you can then sand it down smooth. It's workable like a toothpaste, and it dries fairly quick, so I felt that this would be probably the easiest thing to work on pretty much all these surfaces here. Of course, where the detail is for the lines and the circles and stuff like that, and anywhere here where there's supposed to be a flat surface.
I'm not going to fill in with the putty, just really along the edges wherever you see the striations in the model itself. That way I don't have to worry about trying to sand this down and making it uneven at all. And then I did pick up some of these little sanding sticks here. So these will help me get into the grooves, especially where there's some tight angles here in the corners and everything, so that way I can get a nice smooth finish on this. I picked up a number of hobby brushes here for the paints. I got a larger brush here for the majority of what I'll be covering up with the base, and then I got some finer detail brushes here that I will be able to use for some of the fine elements like the circle inlay here and the lines, as well as some of the detail on the actual model here. As if you can look real close, you can see that there are some lines. So hopefully I can get it really close to the model that came with the collector's edition. I also picked up some thinner so I can clean the brushes so I don't have to keep throwing them out, and hopefully I can reuse them fairly well for most of the paints. And for the paint selection, slide these over here. I picked up some silver. I tried to color match these as best I could, so I picked up some silver here for really the detail of the bands that go around the ghost itself. I picked up some black, especially for the inner eye portion. The 3D model that we have printed out doesn't have the additional pieces of plastic right here that are shown in the picture. So I may try to paint the design on the edge there. I'll see how well it goes. It's been a while since I did anything super artistic like this, so hopefully some of the skills I had back in the day will actually come back, but the black will actually be for some of the other finer detail too as it go around the perimeter of where the edges join up. And then, for the eyepiece, I did pick up this blue, so hopefully that matches well. And for some of the detail that's on the actual ghost too. And then for the top corners, really on the top and bottom corners, kind of where the ghost sits, and I guess for the upper pieces, I tried to match it. It's like a yellowish orange. It's not a very common color. So I did pick these up. If anybody's interested in what the actual colors are, I'll put them down in the description below to see how well they match. So if somebody else is really looking to do a project like this, at least I can give you the colors that I'm using here from the testers line. And finally for the body on the ghost itself, it's kind of like, it's not really a red and it's not really like a pink. It's kind of like a weathered rust iron look to it. So I did try to pick out something that was going to match. Now, again, the colors that I picked out should match fairly well according to the owner of the shop there. He helped me try to match some of the things to the picture. I had this picture on my phone, so the colors don't look as washed out as when they do on the flat paper here. So that we tried to match them as best we could. So hopefully this color, I believe, is actually called grapefruit. So hopefully it matches the body of this ghost when I start to do the paintwork on it. And then lastly, I did pick up some lacquer spray here, so I'm going to be able to seal up all the pieces with a decent shiny enamel to it. Now I believe this is a clear coat. It's semi-gloss. It's not a super high gloss. I didn't want a bright shine to it. The unit that came with the collector's edition has more of a flat finish. These are all mostly flat paints except for the silver that's a metallic. But I didn't want to outshine the actual details of the ghost itself, once the colors and stuff were on there. So I just picked up a semi-gloss lacquer seal. So that's all the materials I have. What I'm going to be doing now is I'll probably spread some newspaper out on the workbench here on the desk so I don't get any of the anything all over the place. And I'll start working on the process to actually put the putty onto the ghost and try to record my efforts. Hope you guys enjoy it. So now I got the work area set up. I put some newspaper down. I used some painter's tape. Pro tip, if you're ever looking to secure something to a desk that you don't want to mark up or scuff or leave any residual stickiness to, always use some painter's tape. It comes off super easy. It'll stay on, it'll secure whatever you're trying to work with at least for a few hours. And this seems to work well for me, so keep that in mind. So I got my putty knife here. It's just a standard 2-inch putty knife. Might be a little big for the project I'm working on, at least for the shell, but I think at least I'll be able to get a good coverage area with one motion so that I don't have to keep going over trying to press the putty in. I do have the white putty opened up. It says vapor harmful. Definitely, it's a strong odor coming out of this. And as you can see here, It looks just like toothpaste almost. It's pretty much got that consistency. It's maybe a little thicker than what a toothpaste would be. It says white. It's actually kind of an off-white, but I would say it's like, almost like a taping compound too. So if you ever had to patch some drywall, it's a little bit like that. Definitely a lot thinner than that is though. So this is a little more workable. So I should be able to get it into these grooves. I got some paper towels for cleanup, and I got some toothpicks here so that if I get putty into the little detail areas right here, I can just kind of scrape it out with the toothpick and not have to worry about it, and then just be able to sand down any ridges or anything I get from moving it out of those areas. I'm going to try and stay away from the internal creases here too. It's going to be, I'm just going to try and use the sanding sticks to get inside there. There's no way I have anything small enough to try to get into those areas. So we will, I'll see how well this works out. I don't think I have to do the internal side here. The sphere shell should cover up most of that. I am going to try to cover up these inside corner pieces as well, if I can just get my putty knife in there at an angle. So wish me luck. Hopefully this turns out good. So I pretty much finished the first step here of the prep work. It took about 5-6 hours or so, I would say, for these two pieces to apply that putty and to let it dry and then sand it down. As you can see now, there's a pretty smooth surface on most of the edges on this. I was really only working with that putty knife that I had shown in the previous clip, and I tried to get all of the edges here. So it, like I said, it was about 5 or 6 hours. It only took anywhere from, I don't know, maybe 15 to 20 minutes to do a side. So I consider like this, you know, this surface area side, and then I had did all of these areas aside, and then this side, right, and this piece inside here I did separately as well. So as you can see, it's a fairly smooth surface. Like I said, it's just it was a putty filler that model makers were used to kind of fill the gaps in. It worked fairly well. It came out like a toothpaste or like a taping compound. I just used it to spread over the styrations and the PLA plastic there from the model from Sam. As you can tell, when you look at a piece that's not coated, you can still see kind of all the lines in there. I'm trying to get it out of the shadow, but it's a little rough. We're here on the coated pieces now. It's smooth, so hopefully this takes a good paint coat. Like I said, I did both pieces, so hopefully this comes out smooth. I was going to try to do the sphere part on both sides here just to try to make it match. The problem is that the tolerances inside, as that pieces together, it has a very little room for for error with that. So I wasn't quite sure that I would be able to get a decent coating of the putty onto each of these halves of the sphere here to make sure that it would still fit within here. I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. It's not as if it's fully exposed once it's there inside the piece, so I'm hoping that it'll still take a decent coat of paint. It won't be perfectly flat like a regular model will be, but hopefully it might add some character, and with the differentiation of the flat surface onto the ridge surface might actually make it stand out a little better. So now the next step here is going to be to apply the paint. This should take fairly easily to the paint. This doesn't have to be prepped or anything else. After talking with the hobby shop, I can paint directly on this, and I'm hoping that the paint adheres well to the plastic without needing any other type of prep work or any type of paint adhesion product to be added to that. So again, I got most of the colors paint here. Hopefully it matches up well to the colors that I'm going to be using for the printout. and we'll see how well that goes. And I have a few different sized brushes as well. I have a broader brush here to do most of the face work for a lot of the larger areas. And then I have a lot of the detail brushes, 3 different size detail brushes that I'll be using for the internal pieces here for the blue. I'll be using it for the inside gaps here, as well as for the top pieces of, for the yellowish orange pieces for where the points come together, as well as for some of the details here in the cracks. You can see that I used a toothpick to kind of push the putty out of the recesses there. So hopefully it comes out well, and I'm going to start the paint process and see how it goes. So I've completed the first step of the paint process, if you would say. I was able to get the base coat down on 2 larger pieces, as well as the center eyeball piece, if that's what you want to refer to as. Paint went on really easy. This is 2 coats. I needed 2 coats of coverage on here. I just wanted a more even finish to it. As you can see, it came out fairly well. You really don't see a lot of the imperfections in the smooth surface that the wood putty or the filler putty is on. So it came out well. You can see the semi-gloss black for the details I did. There are going to be some touch-ups for some of the. Right there, you can see it bled a little just onto the reddish orange color. But the next step that I'm doing now is I'm actually going to be taping off the edges. So I measured out some standard painter's tape, and it's just a little over about 2/8 of an inch, so just a little wider than 2/8. And what I've done is I've wrapped it around to get a standard measurement for the silver band that I'll be painting. I needed to make sure I had some crisp lines between the silver and the orange, the reddish orange there, so you can see where the silver just kind of wraps around on the top and bottom. So I was hoping the painter's tape is going to give me that edge that I'm looking for as I go ahead and fill that in and paint it. And then once the paint's removed, I'll just be able to continue the silver line just up the edge there a little bit, the way it looks here in the picture. It's covered right now by the tape, so tape right now will give me the main band in the middle, and then I'll just do a quick jog up the edge there with the silver paint. So that's going to be the next step. I only got 1 piece taped off. It does take a little bit to measure out, strips of this painter's tape and actually get it applied so that I have a pretty uniform edge all the way around. Yeah, so hopefully the enamel isn't super watery where it will actually bleed through the tape at all. I'm hoping that the painter's tape with standard latex painting that I've done before actually helps get a good seal on the edge there, and it works fairly well. So I'm going to go ahead and do the first piece, see how it turns out, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape off the second piece. It only took about an hour to actually just do the taping itself, just to make sure I had the right amount of tape and the right lengths, and made sure I had the tape all aligned the right way. So we'll see how this turns out. So I've finished up pretty much most of the paint detail now. As you can see here, I did a little bit of touch up on the blue around the eye. But for the most part, the taping that I had done on all of these seemed to come out really, really good. The painter's tape held up really nicely. There was no bleeding, so it adhered well to the previous paint service. So as you can see there, I got some real sharp lines on both the top orange yellowish pieces and the silver piece. So all the way around, it came out well. And then I just did a little bit of tape right there just so I could get a sharp edge on that jog on the top and bottom pieces. So I'm pretty happy with the results. They came out really well. And really the last remaining piece now to do is just some touch up. You can see there's a little bleed of the black there. Try and get some of these lines a little cleaner on these creases, even though it's really tough. And up here, there's a little spot of black that bled out. So I'm going to go through and touch those up. And then I think the last step is going to be to assemble all the pieces with some super glue, some standard gel super glue that will allow me to hold this tight, and then make sure that it's positioned the right way so I can get them, so I can adjust it if I need to, and then position these two together, insert the eyepiece and position those together, and make sure the pegs are inserted already. And then the very last step is going to be to seal it up with the clear coat. Now this is a a semi-gloss clear coat. I didn't go with a super high gloss. I didn't want it to be super shiny or anything. I kind of wanted to maintain a little bit of the dullness, the flat color of the paint, other than the metallic silver, of course. So hopefully this will go on nice and easy and smooth and help seal in the color and avoid chipping, and hopefully it'll be easier to dust off if you want to display it and things of that nature. So let me get started with that process. So I finished up the paint process finally. It didn't take that long. I was able to do all the touch-ups, got the lines cleaned up around there, and I was able to do the black speckles. I essentially just took my paintbrush, dipped it into the enamel, and used a toothpick to kind of flick the end of the brushes around so I could get the spatter. I think it came out pretty good. Everything is pretty much dry now. And I was able to assemble the eyeball middle part here. Came out pretty good. I'm going to be using a ultra gel super glue. I find that the gel works a little better when I'm having to apply it on edges so it doesn't run off the edge and touch any of the painted surfaces. So this seemed to work really good for the eyeball piece. The next step is really just to assemble the back two pieces with the eye centered in there. I already have the pins input here, so that's all set. So really just the last step is just to put these two pieces together, and then I'm going to clear coat it with the Tester's clear coat. Again, this is just a semi-gloss clear coat. I didn't want to do this in a high gloss or ultra gloss finish because I wanted to keep the dullness of the flat paint that I used, other than the silver highlights and stripes that are on there. So I'm going to go ahead and do the assembly and then do the clear coat and then restart the video up and finish it out. So I finally finished it up, and this is the final product. Assembly is all done. I used that gel super glue just to seal these two pieces together. I super glued the posts that were inside here so they lined up well enough, perfectly. And then I just used a very small bead of gel to go around the outside to make sure that it did have a tight seal and it's not going to come off. And then what I did was I took a tie and fed it through the eyepiece and kind of just hung it up a little bit so that I could get an even coat of clear coat all the way around on this. I did end up doing 3 coats. I applied it, fairly light during each coat so that I didn't get any drips or sagging in the clear coat as it hung. I let it dry probably about 15 to 20 minutes in between coats, and as you can see, it's got a decent shine to it, but you can still see the flatness of the color. I think it really makes it stand out. Plus the clear coat did help to seal in any of the cracks and where the seams were for the pieces. But as you can see, it did. In my opinion, I think this came out pretty good for amateur. I haven't done a model or any type of painting or model work like this since I was probably about 10, so we're talking 30 years ago. So I want to give a big shout out to Symphonious Sam for hooking me up with the model and getting the design down for me. I really appreciate that, and packing it well and sending it out and shipping it. That was an awesome job. I can't talk about his work enough, as you saw with the VR headsets that Glenn and Josh have. Amazing work by Sam. So if you're ever interested in something, I'm sure reach out to him. Learn more about the 3D printing that he does. He's a super cool guy to talk to and very helpful. And Dave, this is going to be sent out to you, so I hope it gets to you all in one piece. And as always, man, this is a big thank you from myself and probably everybody else from the PS Nation community. Thanks for always helping out. Everything you do for everybody that's in the forums, and especially all of the work you do on Destiny for helping people through raids and the weekly stuff, and all the information and articles that you post. So this is a big thank you from myself and the rest of the community. So definitely hope you enjoyed us. As always, this is Ben C.N. Palmer with PS Nation Presents. Let me know what you guys think of the video, of the project. Leave me a comment down in the description, down below the description, and I'll be sure to post up a forum link with some additional pictures of the project as I went through it. That's all for now. Take care, guys.